Hey guys, I'm super excited to tell you all the details you need to know about the Bloodborne Kickstarter campaign by Cool Mini or Not. As an avid fan of the video game, this has been on my radar for quite some time, and they are already blowing past stretch goal after stretch goal. Speaking of which, these are some of the best stretch goals CMON has ever put together. More on that later. Now, real quick before I get into it, I want to have a quick shout out to all of my wonderful patrons over on Patreon. Without their incredible support, I'd simply not be able to cover so many games and produce videos with the quality that they have. Every single video is made better because of you guys, and I sincerely appreciate it. If you are not a patron of mine, but have found my videos helpful in some way, and you are able to, feel free to check out the link to my Patreon below. I try to give back as much as possible with my rewards, and for the next week only, you'll be able to get my exclusive custom sticker made only available to my patrons. If you're not able to do so, that's fine. I completely understand. I'm just glad to have you here, so please feel free to say hi in the comments. I'll be sure to respond. Okay, enough yapping. Let's get into the game details. Bloodborne The Board Game is a 1-to-4-player, cooperative, campaign-based dungeon crawler set in the Nightmare of Yharnam, based off the hit video game by From Software. Produced by CMON and designed by Michael Chanel and Eric Lang, each player will pick a hunter to battle monsters and improve their character while completing scenario-specific objectives to gather enough insight to eventually beat the game. Each of the 4 campaigns are made up of 3 interconnected chapters, each one being a full play session. There are rules for playing one-shot hunts, where you play a single chapter on its own without the need of playing through an entire campaign. Either way, you'll need to pick a hunter. Each hunter comes with a unique trick weapon. Trick weapons are interesting because they have 2 separate modes that act differently. For instance, Ludwig's Holy Blade can either be a longsword or a greatsword. The longsword does decent damage and is fairly fast, whereas a greatsword is slower but deals more damage. You'll start the game with a deck of 12 cards split into 4 different stats: endurance, skill, strength, and vitality. You will lay these cards down on your weapon to augment your attack as follows. An endurance card allows you to take more actions while attacking by clearing cards from slots on the weapon or allowing extra cards to be drawn into your hand. Skill cards will increase the speed of the attack or provide a bonus if you strike before the enemy attacks. Strength just adds raw damage, and playing a vitality card will allow you to heal or block some incoming damage. You'll also have to discard cards from your hand to do other actions such as move, making hand management key. Over time, you'll get blood echoes from defeated enemies, which you can then use in the Hunter's Dream to modify your deck of 12 cards by replacing them with new and often better cards. This is the meat and potatoes when it comes to customizing your playstyle. Perhaps you'll replace all your skill cards with strength cards, always hitting slow and heavy, or perhaps you couple that with vitality cards to keep your health up. How you customize your character is completely up to you. Be sure not to die though, as you'll lose your blood echoes. Also be careful about going to the Hunter's Dream, as monsters will respawn when you do. Regardless of if you are attacking, interacting, exploring, or something else, you'll have to keep a close eye on the hunt track, because once it reaches the skull, the chapter is lost. If you are successful, however, you will gain insight, which often comes with a permanent party-wide buff, such as giving everyone an extra point of health. That's really the gist of it. You and up to 3 friends will go about a chapter uncovering the map, interacting with it as necessary, battling monsters, and leveling up. And with that, it's time to dive into the campaign specifics. The Bloodborne campaign will run for 20 days ending on May 13th. There is only a single pledge tier so far, the Blood Moon pledge for $100. With this, you'll get the core box, the Kickstarter exclusive Kirkhammer Hunter, and all applicable stretch goals. That box will get you 5 hunters, including the Kirkhammer Hunter, 28 monsters, which includes 7 unique sculpts, 5 bosses, 20 map tiles, dashboards for the Hunter's Dream, 4 trick weapons, 10 plus permanent item cards, which are mostly just various pistols, 60 plus upgrade cards, 30 plus consumable item cards, 100 plus chapter cards, 20 plus enemy stat cards, 28 plus enemy AI cards, and 40 plus tokens. The miniatures range from 28mm to 100mm in size. There is a rulebook posted that looks almost complete. It's in a great format and looks fairly finalized, which will make it a nice read through. However, there is no index, and the table of contents don't mention one either. I can only assume they said to themselves, "You know, that King of Average guy will definitely have something negative to say if we don't include an index in our rulebook, so we better make sure to include it." And then they just simply forgot. I'll let this be their very friendly reminder to not make me complain about it in future videos. Oh right, where was I? Oh yeah, the campaign. The stretch goals are some of the most exciting CMON has ever done. All of the stretch goals are in the theme of the Chalice Dungeon from the video game. In fact, the first 3 stretch goals unlock the Chalice Dungeon rules, 6 dungeon tiles, and 7 enemy activation cards. It then goes on to unlock a ton of miniatures, including, at the time of recording this, 2 more bosses, 6 more enemy types such as the Silver Beasts, Bell-Ringing Women, and Nightmare Apostles, as well as some chests, even more tiles, and 2 new hunters. So far, 3 of these stretch goals have been Kickstarter exclusive. Something I very much appreciate is the backer integrations. Every so often there are 2 options for what stretch goals to unlock, with a backer vote going on Facebook to decide which will be unlocked next. It's a really fun way to involve the backers. Bloodborne The Board Game is expected to ship May 2020 with an obviously not true estimated low shipping price of $20 to the USA. I'd also like to add that I really appreciate the plethora of very professional videos covering many parts of the game in more detail on the campaign page. That's a really nice touch, and the effort on CMON's part to put them together did not go unnoticed. Now, everyone's favorite section, my opinion in the King's Decree. Okay, I'll get this right out of the way. I'm a huge fan of the video game and IP. I usually describe Bloodborne as Victorian Cthulhu, but replace most of the tentacles with hair. It really is a fascinating IP and a very well-made game. Campaign-wise, I really like what I'm seeing from CMON here. Plenty of great miniatures, a huge focus on sharing the actual gameplay, simple pledge tiers for us consumers, and even some backer involvement. Seriously, it's a really solid campaign. The only gripe I have right now is I wish the main hunters were larger than 28mm. As a painter, I'm okay if the scale isn't perfect between the heroes and the enemies. Heck, even at 28mm and 100mm, the bosses should technically be larger to match the game. If you aren't going to get the scale perfect, then might as well make the normal minis 32mm plus. Right now there are no add-ons, but I'm sure there will be a fair amount, and I'm actually pretty excited for them. My guess right now is they'll be themed based on parts of the video game. For instance, I imagine they will have a Forbidden Woods expansion, or a Nightmare of Mensis expansion, stuff like that. Each expansion could come with that area's tiles, a campaign with that location's chapters, the boss and enemies from that area, and more. This would add a large amount of replayability and diversity within the game. That's it, guys. A cool looking game with some cool looking minis at a great price. What's not to like? Did you enjoy the video? Did you find it helpful? If so, on your way down to the description where I have a link to the Kickstarter and those comments where you are supposed to say hi to me, there's a thumbs up button. Be sure to click it to help me out a bit in return, and then let me know what you think of the game. Did you play the video game? Do you think the board game captures the core feeling of the game? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Also, if you haven't already, and I know many of you haven't because YouTube gives me plenty of statistics around this, go ahead and subscribe to the channel to be updated about future Kickstarters. My next video will be an in-depth look at May when it comes to Kickstarters launching, ending, delivered, or delayed, so stay on the lookout for that. Or, subscribe and hit that bell so you don't have to look out for it. Okay guys, seriously, that's all I have. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll talk to you soon.